Welcome back in to Shot Callers, everybody. My name is Joe Micucci. With me, as always, is my wonderful, lovely, astounding friend, Kyle Brandon. Kyle, what's going on, brother?
Hey, I appreciate the kind words. Happy to be
It's got
here.
to gas you up a little bit. Hey, we're back again for our second episode this week. We just did the Eastern Conference tier list back on Friday. If you have listened to that already or you've watched the video already, thank you so much. If you haven't, go check it out. I'll put the video somewhere on the screen. I don't know my directions. You'll see it pop up. But just go back one episode if you're listening to the podcast network. Hey, if you're here on the YouTube channel, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe. We'd love to hear your thoughts on these tier lists, especially as we move closer into the season. So definitely let us know how you think things shake out. Drop your own tier list down below as well. Hit us up on Twitter at 48 Minutes Network. The whole shebang. We want to hear your thoughts. But Kyle, before we get into the Western Conference, any thoughts either lingering from our Eastern Conference preview or thoughts going into the Western Conference?
No, I thought the East, we had a couple teams there where we were kind of on the fringe, but I think overall we really agreed.
Yeah.
This one, I'll be shocked if we come to the same conclusions because I didn't think it was a clear conclusion. Maybe we will, maybe we won't, but I didn't think that the West was as cut and dry, um, especially below like the fifth seed.
Yeah.
Between the fifth to lottery seed, um, yeah, the bottom seems to have a good amount of depth.
Fair enough. Well, just as a quick disclaimer before we get too into this, we are recording this on Sunday, October 3rd. This is going to go up on Friday the 7th? No, the 8th. Sorry, got my days mixed up. So if anything major changes between now and when this drops, don't hold us to it. But hey, before we get into it, Kyle, you want to go ahead and break down the tiers once again for everybody, just in case they forgot how it works.
Yeah, of course. We're doing title contenders at the top, teams that we think have very, very realistic, plausible chances at winning the title. 3 to 5 seed, 6 to 8 seed, teams in the play-in, teams that are going to be outside of the playoffs and in the lottery. And then we have the 14 percenters. And these are teams that have a real chance at the 14% odds at the number one pick. This is the bottom of the bottom, the worst teams in the conference.
Yeah. So, without further ado, let's start our Western Conference tier list. And the first one, a juicy one. A team that I think you and I we're both looking forward to talking about, but maybe not for the reasons people would think. The Dallas Mavericks. This team is going through some not maybe major roster changes, but they did go through a wholesale front office change as well as a coaching change, losing Rick Carlisle, bringing in Jason Kidd, and then Nico Harrison coming in as the GM. No draft picks, and their free agency recap is really just keeping Tim Hardaway Jr. on a 4-year deal. Boban's back. They do bring in Sterling Brown and Reggie Bullock, but not a ton of roster changes on this Dallas team. Kyle, where do you have Dallas sitting on your tier list?
I have Dallas in the 6 to 8 seed
That is
range.
precisely where I had them. What's got you putting them down there?
Well, you talked about it. This roster, not any huge changes to it.
Yeah.
And I think they kind of needed to make some sizable change to it. Now this is of course pending, like we said in our previous episode, this is pending the Goran Dragic thing. I think Goran will probably end up here. I don't know how much that moves the needle. Maybe it bumps them maybe to up to the 3 to 5.
Yeah.
But I don't really see it. And I think something of note here, everyone is really high on the Luka for MVP train. If you're
not me.
If you're a 6 to 8 seed, you don't win the MVP. Russell Westbrook won it the year that he did the first triple-double, which is weird to look back on now. But I think that was really the only time that someone's won it in recent history that wasn't like a home seed.
Steph was in consideration for it, with the Warriors being a play-in team last season, but at the end of the day, he didn't win it.
Right.
But that
Yeah.
just something to add of note to that
Yeah,
caveat.
of course. But I don't see it. I think Luca, of course, is going to be fantastic, but uh, just the team around him is just not good enough. They were a 6 to 8 seed last year. They didn't get better.
Mm-hmm.
You said that Rick Carlisle's gone. Um, we gave the Pacers a couple wins for adding Rick Carlisle. Those same wins that we credit Rick Carlisle for, we're gonna go ahead and dock them a few wins for losing Rick Carlisle. And then also on top of that, if Jason Kidd is your coach, we're gonna dock you another couple wins there.
Yeah.
Because I think he's the worst coach in the league by a sizable amount. I think that um, players don't like him. I don't think that the stuff that the strategies and stuff, the stuff I hear about what he does in practice and everything, just seems dumb to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sold on that at all. I think it was the one thing. I think they just wanted to get an ex player in there because they wanted to make Luka happy.
Mm-hmm. I totally
I
agree.
don't see it. I'll be late to the Dallas Mavericks party, but I don't see it.
I would love to be at the Mavericks party because I love Luca, but for me it's as simple as this: more teams in the West are coming back healthy, and Luca still needs help.
Yeah.
That's really what it boils down to. It's just, listen, it is gonna be Luca's time, but now is not that time. Uh,
Yeah.
it feels very black and white to say it, but I really just, that's what it boils down to for the Mavericks for me. I really, everything you said, I don't see how they can push forward to get in that upper echelon in the Western Conference just with this roster that they have right now. They've got to make some additional moves and really bring in. Honestly, I think this team really needs a consistent secondary scoring threat for Luca. I think Tim Hardaway Jr. is great, but I don't think he is the answer for that second option. We already know Porzingis is not the answer. So there's a lot of work still to be done on that Mavericks team.
Yeah. I don't think that this roster is finished. I think that they are buyers for sure.
Yeah.
But I also don't know besides Goran Dragic who's actually added to this team, and without knowing, I feel comfortable putting them in that 6 to 8 range.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, Dallas 6 to 8. We're set there. Coming up next, the Denver Nuggets and the reigning MVP Nikola Jokic. We know what happened last year with this team. Really was firing on all cylinders until Jamal Murray went down with the ACL injury, and they end up getting knocked out in the second round to Phoenix. A series that, if you recall, you and I talked about this back, I want to say right after Game 6 of the finals. We both think that if Jamal Murray stays healthy, Denver knocks out Phoenix last season. So I'm curious, Kyle, where do you have the Nuggets falling coming into the season? Obviously, they're going to be waiting for Jamal Murray to come back. But
Yeah.
with this roster as is right now, where do you have them sitting?
Before I give my answer, I'm curious.
Mm-hmm.
Assuming Jamal Murray is healthy for the entire season,
Yeah.
the talent of the roster, where would you put him?
I'm glad you asked this. If Jamal Murray was healthy, I have them as title contenders.
Okay.
I have them as title contenders
agree.
if Murray is healthy for the entire season. So him not really knowing when he came back, and full disclosure, I thought he got injured way earlier in the year of 2021, not in April. I just had a mental lapse on that. So that also had me kind of scrambling with where to put them. I have them as a 3 to 5 seed still.
Okay.
Because I just personally think, depending on if Jamal Murray can come back early enough, this team can still work their way into that 3 to 5 area.
Okay. I had them in the 6 to 8 range.
6 to 8. Okay.
But I don't mind them being in the 3 to 5 range.
Okay.
And if we want to put them in 3 to 5, and we can kind of revisit it once we get to the teams.
Yeah, I'm definitely
and where I originally put them.
Yeah, I'm more than fine with doing that, putting them in 3 to 5 and come back to it.
Yeah, the same thing we said about Luka, and why I don't think he'll win MVP this year, with him not being like a home playoff team. I think that Denver is gonna still be kind of on that same tear. that they were on, and Jokic will still be in the running for MVP again. I think that he'll be, I think that they'll be a home playoff team probably if everything clicks with them being healthy.
Yeah.
Um, I think that Michael Porter Jr. will take a sizable step forward this year. He got paid. I think that this team is ready to kind of go all in on him.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just going to be a lot more of giving what Jamal Murray had to Michael Porter Jr., kind of practicing that, hey, Michael Porter Jr. is the guy right now. And once Jamal Murray comes back, it's going to be dangerous because then they'll have MPJ as the guy with Jokic, and then adding Murray to that is dangerous.
And that is kind of my reasoning for having them still in the 3 to 5 seed as well. Michael Porter Jr. One of my questions when I was doing my notes prepping for this was, can Michael Porter Jr. take the next leap? And lo and behold, I had these notes probably 2-3 weeks out from when we're doing this, and in between that time, the Nuggets gave him that max extension. So I have a note under there that says Denver apparently thinks so. So I think Michael Porter Jr., if it shakes out right with that team, it's exactly what you say. He can kind of actually take that leap into being the guy, or just one of the guys on that team next to Jamal Murray when he comes back. And with Jokic, we already know Jokic can win the MVP. He did it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a 3-headed monster that you don't want to face. So again, I'm fine. If you're fine with them being a 3 to 5 seed, let's leave them there for now. I could also be open to seeing them drop depending on who you had in their place. So
no, I'm good with that.
Okay.
I do. This team could really use Gary Harris right now.
Oh yes, they could.
Yeah, they're gonna have to lean on Monte Morris. The Compazzo thing is cute. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a realistic thing. Austin Rivers is on this team, so I mean,
yeah,
I think that he's still good for a little bit each year. So I think that's enough to kind of piece them together.
Austin Rivers is always good for a guaranteed Austin Rivers game in the playoffs. Every year.
Yeah, don't tell Austin Rivers that he's not as good as Jamal Murray. He genuinely doesn't believe it.
Yeah. We love irrational confidence, Austin Rivers.
Yeah.
It's great. All right, so Denver, 3 to 5 seed. And now here's the team that I'm excited to talk about. I hope you are too. The Golden State Warriors. We got the return of the Splash Brothers happening this season. It's been a long 2 years without Klay Thompson. And even without him last season, they almost made it into the playoffs with Steph doing a Herculean effort. Kyle, where do you have the return of the Golden State Warriors falling this season?
I have them in the 3 to 5 seed.
Me too.
I do. Yeah. Steph is one of the best players in the world. He showed it last season. Like you said, he was in the MVP running there.
Yeah.
I think that they'll get Klay Thompson back. It's typically, a 13-month injury. It happened in
December, I believe.
In December,
right?
I think it was
late November, early December.
Yeah,
it was right before training camp.
Right around.
Yeah,
right around there. So, I know the calendar is so messed up with last year.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Right before training.
That's literally why I was thrown off with the Jamal Murray injury, because of the timeline of last season.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I think he'll be back very, very, very early 2020, 2022, which is weird to say. So January-ish, right before the All-Star break. Maybe they just wait a minute.
Bring him back after. Yeah.
Yeah. So somewhere between Christmas to All-Star break, I think he comes back, which I think is enough time with this team that they could go on another tear. We've seen what Curry, Klay, and Draymond can do.
Yeah.
And I like their supporting team that they have with them now. And so, I don't know. I like them in the 3 to 5. Curry is enough.
Yeah. For the Warriors, obviously the return of the Splash Brothers. But my other note that I had for them, two things really. I thought they had an extremely savvy offseason, both in free agency and the draft. Getting Otto Porter Jr. on that veterans minimum, I think, is a sneaky good move. I love I always butcher this guy's name, but Nemanja Bielika.
Bielitsa.
Yeah, Bielitsa. There it is. Thank you. I like what he can add to this team, just giving them some bench minutes, rotational minutes. Um, but really, it's the draft picks for me. Um, Jonathan Kaming is going to be an interesting. I don't want to say project player, but seeing how they plan to develop him this season. But you know where I'm about to say here. You Moses Moody, man. The fact that Moses Moody fell to this team in the draft, I think that's a guy that can be an instant contributor off the bench. It's just I really like what he can bring to the Warriors bench rotation, and if something happens, I think he can also like if they end up with some injury issues or anything like that, I think he can be plugged into the starting rotation as well. Um, so I just really like what Golden State has done with their roster this offseason. Um, and also, I think James Wiseman actually having a full offseason, like a proper NBA offseason, as opposed to just kind of getting thrown in the fire. I think we're going to see this with a lot of second year guys this year, but I think Wiseman is one of those guys that's really going to benefit from it. He's had a full offseason to be truly immersed into that Warriors culture. I think it's going to be a really solid second season for James Wiseman.
Yeah, I'm just curious to see if they hold on to all the young guys, if they
Yeah.
make one more move. Um, I I'm trying to think of a time that a team kind of like hedged and didn't go all in and was able to win a title.
Yeah.
A team that wanted to build young and they wanted to win now. I just don't think it really happens that often.
Yeah.
So
And I mean, with the Warriors, I definitely think they're in that spot where I think one, if not two of those young guys that I just talked about could even find themselves in a trade for a final piece. Like if they're hot in the second half of the season, like around trade deadline time, I definitely see Golden State flip into to make another run with Clay and Steph and Draymond.
yeah, yeah, I agree. I think that's what the players want. I think they want another real piece. I don't think that they want young guys on the bench thinking about the future and the years that they're not going to be there. I think that they want to win now.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting. Moses Moody is definitely like the most plug and play of the guys that they drafted this year between him and Kaminga.
Hmm.
He's great catch and shoot, really good wingspan. I think great value where they got him. So I like their young pieces. I just don't know if they stay.
It's fair. It's very
Yeah.
fair. But I like so far it's not as hectic as we thought it was going to be, but I think that's because
Yeah.
I think these three teams have been pretty, I want to say easy to peg, but we had a good idea. And I think we have a good idea for this next team. Houston Rockets.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not even going to try and butter it up. I've got them in the 14 percenters.
Yeah. Yeah. They're very comfortably
Yeah.
in the 14 percenters. Yeah.
I think this team had an outstanding draft. Listen, they're fully committed to the rebuild post James Harden life. And I like that there's vision. Now, I know Jalen Green has become the villain for you, Kyle. And I support you in this rivalry. I hear you, I see you. But there's also no denying that Jalen Green will be in the Rookie of the Year conversation come the end of the season. But also, those other three guys they got in the first round, I mean, Alperen Şengün was a man among boys at the Summer League. Obviously, that's the Summer League. He's probably going to have a welcome to the NBA moment this rookie season, but we learned that kid can play. Josh Christopher, we saw glimpses during Summer League, but there's still some developing that's going to need to be done there with him. And we don't know what Usman Garuba is going to look like because he was playing in the Olympics at the time of Summer League. But really good young pieces, as well as Kevin Porter Jr. being there. Kenyon Martin Jr. is there as well, if I'm not mistaken. So it's just really good young pieces, but
Jae'Sean Tate.
yeah, it's young youth. This team is still learning how to play together. And in the Western Conference, that's a death sentence at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, on any given night, they're gonna have the best young the best guys out there on all rookie contracts, by far. I think.
Oh yeah,
they're gonna be able to put out really impressive rookie contract lineups. But what do they do with guys like John Wall who make 44 million a year?
Yeah.
I don't know what that looks like. What do you do with Eric Gordon? And so as
Trade.
I just don't know what
Yeah.
their rotation looks like um, with Kevin Porter Jr., with Jalen Green. You want to see both of those guys
Hmm.
start, absolutely. But they have over 60 million tied up in John Wall and Eric Gordon, and their owners is kind of cheap. So
Yeah.
I don't know if he just lets that money sit on the bench. I hope he does.
Well,
I
they
think
have come
that's
out. I mean, at least for the John Wall thing, the Rockets and John Wall did come out and say that they were going to actively look for a new home for John Wall. So I don't know if I
yeah.
don't know how that's going to happen. I don't know what their plan is to make it happen, but they're
Good
at
luck.
least they're saying, "Hey, we're going to try and you know get off this." So we'll
Yeah.
see. It's again, it's just going to be a year of growing pains, but also continuing to clean house. And that's
Yeah.
just, I think that's an easy recipe to find yourself back at the top of the draft. In a good way,
Yeah.
though.
I
In a
agree.
good way.
I I agree. I just think that's the only thing standing in their way is John Wall and Eric Gordon. I think there's a lot of other teams that don't have those factors of guys like, you know, making a good amount of money, that are veteran guys that are well established in the league,
Yeah.
that are that could like make their way above their rookies on the depth chart. So I hope that Jalen Green starts. I hope that Kevin Porter Jr. starts. I hope that we get to see him as a backcourt for all 82 games, but it just scares me a little bit that we won't.
That's
Or
fair.
maybe even at the beginning of the season we don't, and then like once they start losing they do. But I think it's going to be frustrating to see John Wall play any minutes for this team.
That's very fair. I will say this though, if they lean into the youth core,
Mm-hmm.
I will still have the Rockets on my fringe league pass rankings because I want to watch Jalen Green. I want to watch Alperen Şengün. I do want to see what Usman Garuba looks like playing NBA defense because that dude was a dog for Real Madrid. If you watch some of his highlights, this guy's motor is ridiculous. Um, so he's
Yeah,
definitely an intriguing draft prospect. So I have a lot of interest in their young guys just to see what they're gonna look like in the NBA game.
yeah. I'm curious on if the Shengun, like ticky tacky fouls that he was drawing, if that translates over into like the actual NBA.
Yeah,
Um, just kind of some of like the gimmicky moves. They work in summer league, maybe.
his old man at the Y moves.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, maybe they work, but it was a bit slow motion for me, and so I'm curious to see what it looks like at the next level.
it's fair. It's fair. Well, speaking of curiosity, I think a team that is going to be very curious to watch this season is our next team, the LA Clippers. Um, we know Kawhi Leonard is gone this season. It is Paul George taking the reins. Almost kind of feels like another franchise that he took the reins for earlier in the decade. Um, so Kyle, I will lead. I've got the Clippers in the 6 to 8 range. Where do you have
Okay,
them sitting?
I had them in the 3 to 5,
Okay.
in more in that 5,
Okay.
but if we're gonna put the Nuggets in the 3 to 5, which I'm okay with,
Yep.
then the Clippers would be the team that I would take out.
That's literally my thought process. It was the
Yeah,
Nuggets would be that fifth seed. The Clippers would be the
yeah,
first team out. My reasoning was, and it's not to sound like a broken record, but it's kind of the same thing with Dallas in the sense that the rest of the West is getting healthier. The Clippers are banged up going into the season without their best player, and they're going to be without their best player. That being said, it's weird that I'm going to say this because we made this point against Luka Doncic. I could see Paul George being a sneaky MVP candidate this season if he carries this team like he should be able to.
hmm
Like I am
like he did,
yeah,
like he did against the Suns.
yeah, I'm a noted Paul George hater. But I also cannot deny the dude's talent on the basketball court. And we saw him do it in Oklahoma City where he almost won the MVP. What was it, 2 seasons ago, 3 seasons ago now? Um, so we know the talent is there. I just think the Clippers' downfall is just that they're going to get outgunned at the end of the day. Paul George by himself can only take this team so far.
Yes, I do agree. But I am curious on what the team looks like knowing that Reggie Jackson is a real piece.
Yeah, that's fair.
Reggie Jackson went from kind of like a throw-in guy off the bench to okay, he's a real contributor. And so now that they know that he's a real guy, now that we know that Terrence Mann is he can be a bull in a china shop very often. He plays really excited and really fast, and sometimes detrimentally fast.
Use the analogy. Loosely. Use the analogy you used during the playoffs. Don't mince words here.
like a 13-year-old that found his first boner, just like so excited and just won't stop. He's a bit too much with it. Like, settle down.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think they add Bledsoe, which Bledsoe's not a guy that's gonna move the needle too much, but I think that they have enough pieces. Nick Batum proved me wrong last season.
Yeah, we saw the return of Nick Batum.
Right. I thought he was.
Yeah.
I thought he was washed by now, but I mean, he was playing like minutes at the 5 in this like really weird small ball lineup, and they have the option to just go really small, and really really heavy on shooting, which I think is what Ty Lue wants to do.
Yeah.
And I just think that this team in general, it has more title aspirations this year than Dallas does, and so I'll buy into it. I think Marcus Morris is a dog. I think this team can, I think this team can kind of punch you in the mouth a little bit.
I am curious, just with the fact that they know. I know you said, with them knowing Reggie Jackson is a piece, bringing in Bledsoe, but I'm also curious on the flip side of this, with them knowing Kawhi is gone for this season at least.
Mm-hmm.
How much run do they give these young guys they got in the draft? Guys like Keon Johnson, Jason Preston, and BJ Boston. Like, do we see a world where they kind of try and give them a little more minutes than maybe they would if Kawhi is healthy this season, just to see what they got with these guys? Or do you think this team is still going to try and be in a kind of pseudo win now mode to see what they can get out of this team?
I think they'll fully be in a win now mode.
Okay.
I think you'll see maybe Keon Johnson against like the Rockets or something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't really think you'll see him against really any other team. I think that they're in a full win now mode, and I think that they're at the point where like they're maybe like a buyout candidate kind of team. I mean, I think that's more who they are.
Okay.
Not so much a development team.
Yeah.
So I really think that this team is full speed ahead. The Paul George we saw in the playoffs was really impressive.
Yeah, no, that Sun series, it was hard. It was hard to say anything negative about what he did in that series, as much as I wanted to. But yeah, okay, Clippers 6 to 8 seed. Let's go ahead and move on over to their hall mates, city mates, not locker room mates, really not mates at all, but they're crosstown rivals, the Los Angeles Lakers. LeBron and the Banana Boat Boys getting ready to take on the world this season. Kyle, where do you have the Lakers falling?
I have the Lakers as the obvious title contenders team. I think that they are in a tier of their own within title contenders. They're the best team in the West. I don't know how much debate there is about that. I think that every single person on this network and pretty much every other sports network out there, consensus believes that the Lakers are the best team in the West for sure.
Yeah.
They're gonna have the best two players on the court most nights in LeBron and AD, and their third player, Russell Westbrook, is probably going to be better than the third player on the other team 90% of the time. And I think that combination right there is enough to win you most games. Then you take guys that are either desperate to win a title, like Carmelo Anthony. We can make whatever jokes we want. I think he's desperate to win a title.
Yeah.
Rajon Rondo, we know that he has what it takes to win a title. Dwight Howard has done it with this Lakers team. So I think that all of these guys just want to win titles. This is what they're here for. It's going to be a very focused, locked-in group. And the talent, it just seems so obvious that the talent is there.
Yeah.
I don't see them getting distracted with LeBron on their team. And just, every year LeBron gets them ready for it.
These are my 3 points about the Lakers, and I feel like I can just say these and we can move on to the next team because it's just cut and dry with this team. 1, I'm never going to ask the question, how much does LeBron James have left in the tank? 2, this team may have gotten older on paper, but they have gotten leaps and bounds more talented on paper as well. And 3, my only concern is health. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. How healthy can the team stay? If they stay healthy, there is no reason why they shouldn't be there at the end. It's simple as that.
I would agree with that, but I also think that on any given night, if Russell Westbrook's hurt, then you can still run out, Rondo, Wayne Ellington, Kendrick Nunn, Malik Monk. I totally get. You still have like some legit guys, not top end guys by any means.
Yeah,
but I think that they have enough guys that they can they could be smart with their minutes this season, and I think they're gonna. I feel confident they'll come out of the West. Actually,
that's fair. I like that. All right, well, let's go ahead and move on then, because I don't think there's anything more to say about the Lakers that hasn't already been said a million times.
No. Rooting for Malik Monk. That's my last thing.
Yeah.
I like Malik Monk. I'm excited that he's on that team, and I hope that he gets any minutes. That's it.
All right. So the Memphis Grizzlies, this one was tough for me. They were the play-in darlings last season. We saw Ja show that he's built for it. We also learned that the team still needs a few more pieces around to see how much further they can go. Kyle, where do you have the Memphis Grizzlies falling this season?
I have them as a lottery team.
Oh, this is probably the biggest difference we've had so far.
Okay.
I have them as a 6 to 8 seed.
All right. I guess.
But again,
let me explain.
Yeah, go ahead and explain yours. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna put them here.
So
to split the difference.
Let's put them there.
Yeah.
Okay. So the transactions that this team made this offseason.
Yeah.
They traded away Valanciunas for Steven Adams. Valanciunas is a better player than Steven Adams, in my opinion.
Okay.
I think that, and they did it to get the draft pick, right? They wanted Zaire Williams.
Yeah.
So they made that move, right? They gave up a player that's better now for a young talent. Okay, that seems noteworthy. Is this team trying to win right now, or are they trying to just get younger and kind of reset their timeline? Then they acquired from the Clippers. They acquired Black Air Forces himself. Forget his name. And traded him over to the Timberwolves for Jarrett Culver. And I think that by moving Patrick Beverley for Jarrett Culver, it's kind of another sign that if this team wanted to win right now, you just keep Patrick Beverley.
Okay.
If you want to win right now, you keep Valanciunas. But there is something about it where they said, let's get a little younger. Let's get Tyus Jones. Let's get Jarrett Culver. Let's get Zaire Williams. I'd rather have those guys than two guys that are definitely going to help us win right now. To me, that looks like they're saying, this isn't our year. Let's reset.
Let's start building towards the next.
Yeah.
Okay.
Couple more shots at young guys. Like a couple more, right? Jarrett Culver and Zaire Williams have huge pedigrees.
Yeah.
Jarrett Culver's like a top 4 guy. He got drafted as a top 4 guy. I know it hasn't gone well in for the Timberwolves, but he's still a top 4 guy. And they're saying, let's do one last shot of it, because if we hit on it, we hit huge.
Hmm.
Zaire Williams, I mean, he was the best player on that Sierra Canyon team, and he had a really, really, really rough year. I'm not even gonna say like basketball season, just a
Just
rough
rough
year
year. Yeah.
at Stanford. And they said, hey, the talent's there, the size isn't there, but we think that he could be a really good knockdown shooter, but it's going to take a year or two. And so I think that this team isn't looking this year to win. I love John Morant. He is very, very, very exciting to watch. But I don't think he's on that same level as some of these other young guards. I don't think he's even on the same level as De'Aaron Fox, to be honest.
Okay. I
I think he's is a notch below that, in my opinion.
can respect
Um,
that. Um,
so,
I will say this, kind of like what happened with the Eastern tier list. I did my
mhm.
projections more off of where I saw teams' ceilings as opposed to
Yeah.
numerically. I would say that Memphis would have been that odd team out. I had them at the bottom of
Mhm.
that tier. So by default, I would already say dragging them into the play-in would make sense to me. Um, I still don't know about the lottery though. I just feel like with them getting that playoff, that taste of the postseason, and just being able to, I mean, grind out through the play in last season, I just feel like that was huge for the confidence of those young guys, not just Ja, but also guys like Kyle Anderson and Dylan Brooks. Those pieces they still retained. Um, so I think it's just they've kind of started to establish a bit of a culture, which is
Mhm.
huge for a young team like that. Um, and I think bringing in the aforementioned like Jarrett Culver and trading to get the pick for Zaire, I think those are guys that, let's say they do hit the contributor value, especially Culver. I think that's enough to pull them into the play in.
Yeah.
I think this team is better than a lottery team in the West, but I'm
Okay.
fine with I mean I'm fine with putting
So,
them in either or and kind of
okay. Well,
working from there.
we could do this right now, I guess.
Okay,
The Timberwolves are the next team. I had the Timberwolves as a play-in instead.
okay. I had Timberwolves as a lottery
So
team.
gotcha. So this is it, right? Timberwolves or Grizzlies. Who's in the play-in and who's in the lottery? You let us know. Hop into
Yeah.
the comments down below. Let us know if you're watching on YouTube. Who do you think has a better shot at making the play-in between Memphis and Minnesota? And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple or whatever, just tweet at us and let us know what you think.
Yeah. Because here's my reasoning for why, since we've segued into them already. The reason
Mm-hmm.
why I had Minnesota in the lottery is this is what I wrote. I want to say this is the year they figure it out, but I'm just done getting bit by the hope bug for the Wolves. I'll gladly be like I will gladly be wrong about the Timberwolves, but I need to be proven wrong. It's kind of like I'm gonna be the last person to jump onto the Timberwolves train this season if they start getting hot. Um, Also, them firing their president of basketball operations on literally the 22nd of September, right before media day and training camp. I don't like that. I don't like that before the start of the season.
Yeah.
So it still feels like a mess in Minnesota. I just feel like that's going to once again cause them another lost season.
Yeah. I I think that when I look at like the top 3 players on Minnesota, I do
Of
think that they're
course.
more talented than the top 3 on Memphis.
Wholeheartedly agree. Wholeheartedly
I
agree.
don't think I agree with the culture thing. I think that organization is cursed.
Yeah.
Is cursed. And I don't think that they are I don't think that they're a winning team by nature. And I do agree with that. But do I think that Carl Anthony Towns will just like not make the playoffs year after year after year after year after year? I think that he's got to make it, right? And Anthony Edwards, I thought Anthony Edwards was great last season.
Yeah.
Jalen Jalen Green would be lucky if he has a season like Anthony Edwards. I think that that's what Jalen Green needs to aim for, is a season like Anthony Edwards last year. And so I think that this is year 2 of a player like that. Um, I think that he'll take a leap. D'Angelo Russell's still a good enough player,
And
and
he'll
again,
be
they
healthy.
added
He'll be healthy this
they
season. Yeah.
and they added Patrick Beverly, which tells me that they want to win now. And when I look at a team like them or Memphis, again, one of them got Patrick Beverly, the other got Tyus Jones.
But
You know, which one do I think will make the playoffs?
here's my
And so
but.
for me, that's why.
Here's my
Yeah,
but
go
with the
ahead.
Patrick Beverly thing. It could mean that they're trying to win now, or it could mean the same exact reason for why the Pelicans traded for Patrick Beverly, to have him as a trade piece, to
Yeah, that's fair.
to send him off to a contender near trade deadline. So
What trade piece do you think they'd be trying to get back?
I
Another
have no
young
clue.
trade
I'm really
piece?
just using this more of a hypothetical.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
have any.
I just
I'm not like envisioning anything on the
Sure,
horizon.
sure.
It was. I was
Yeah.
more or less just saying it. Thinking of like, okay, but let's say things do go
Let's think
south.
it
They
out.
have Patrick Beverly to be like, hey, you're a contender that needs a defensive guy off the bench. We have Patrick Beverly. Give us something for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's. I'm fine with saying though that these two are pretty interchangeable, but I really am
Uh,
higher on I'm probably, I'd say it's like a 60-40, my confidence
Okay.
in the Grizzlies over the Wolves.
We'll roll with the Grizzlies over them.
Okay.
We'll roll with the Grizzlies. They made it last season to the play-in, so we'll go ahead and roll with it.
Yeah. And another team that it's actually funny, for my notes for this next team, the New Orleans Pelicans, I literally have written down see Minnesota notes minus the firing of basketball operations. It's a team I don't trust. It's a team that Zion's apparently really happy. Nothing to worry about. Things are peachy keen. Kyle, I have the Pelicans in the lottery this season. Where do you have them sitting?
I have them in the play-in.
Okay.
I have them in the play-in.
I could be
think that
convinced on this. Yeah, I could
I
be
think
convinced.
that clock is ticking in a scary way, and I think that team has to be in the play-in.
I
think
agree.
that the play-in. I would also say this: the play-in was, I don't know, quite literally invented for Zion to be in it.
Yeah.
And so I think that the play-in was actually invented for that reason, to have Zion Williams in it and for him to make the playoffs. I think that Zion and Brandon Ingram alone are better than a lottery team. I think that Zion is
I agree.
weirdly underrated, which is a weird thing to say because I've never seen hype like I've seen for Zion Williamson.
And then it
ever.
just went away.
In almost any sport,
Yeah.
really. And I think he's now underrated. I think that he is living up 100% to what he was billed as, and he's doing everything that we thought he would do, but we just don't really care. And so I'm excited to watch him. They do lose Lonzo Ball and replace him with Devontae Graham. That is a step in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. But I do think that Valanciunas is a step ahead of Steven Adams.
Okay.
And another year for Nickeil Alexander Walker, who I'm high on. This team, I know that this team is high on Kira Lewis. I think that they're comfortable letting him have the ball in his hand to play make a little bit. I just think that this team has so much to lose if they don't make the play-in.
Yeah. That's super fair.
And I think that this team, even if it has to be something drastic, I think that they'll figure out a way to make the play-in.
Okay. Again, for me with the Pelicans, it's really more or less a trust thing. I want to believe, you could call them literally the X-Files of the Western Conference, where it's like, where I get in my Pacers rant during Eastern. I said, I want to believe in this team. I want to believe in the Pelicans this season. I really do. So I'm fine with putting them in the play-in. It's gonna make it interesting to see which one of my remaining play-in teams I'm gonna drop down
Yeah.
for this, and that I kind of have a feeling I know which two teams we're gonna be dancing with. But for now, I think we can go on to the next easy one here, the Oklahoma City Thunder. I have no reason to believe this team is anywhere but the 14 percenters this season.
Yeah, this is actually the worst team in the league, right?
Yeah.
Do you think they're the worst team in the league? Do you think the Rockets are the worst?
No,
Who
I
do you
think
is
it's
the
Oklahoma
number?
City. I think it's Oklahoma City. I, I'm actually surprised I held my tongue on this when we were talking about the Celtics the other night. Because you were going on your rant about war chest of assets with the Celtics, and it's like I just feel like we're about to witness the Thunder do that over the next decade. They have all these assets, and they're not going to use them. They're not going to utilize them properly. Um, I mean, you and I have been very vocal about how much we hate the Josh Giddey pick. Um, I I don't really understand what their plan is whatsoever. If you can give me any insight onto that, I would love to see it. Yeah, I hope Shea Gilgeous-Alexander gets the hell out of there as soon as possible. I want that guy on a good team.
Yeah, and I don't really see a lot of pieces that they have to move forward. Shea is an obvious piece, but they want to get rid of him.
Yeah,
Lou Dort seems to be an obvious piece, and Josh Giddey as well, who I'm fully off the Josh Giddey train.
yeah.
Poku, let me tell you, I have no Poku stock. I would never buy Poku stock, and I'm confused why people do buy Poku stock. I know the one reason is because he had one game last year, the last game of the year against the Clippers, who I thought it was just well known, like it was out in the open that the Clippers were trying to lose that game for seeding.
Yeah,
That was like obvious knowledge. So Poku plays a game that the other team wants to lose. He plays over 40 minutes in the game that they're trying to lose, and he has a good game. You did it. You scored 29 points in a game the other team was trying to lose. That's good. I'm glad you did that. The other games of the season, the other 44 games, he averaged 7 points on 33% shooting from the field.
yeah.
It's I think it's horrible. I think it's like beyond horrible. I don't know. 2 turnovers a game in 20 minutes. I think that it's horrible. I think it's really bad. I don't get it. He had one good game ever, and it was against a team that wanted him to play well.
Yeah.
But but never again has he done that. And so yeah, I'm out on that. He's not a real piece for them moving forward.
Yeah.
So
If you're a Thunder fan and you have an idea of what your team is doing, please let us know down below or give us a shout because we sure as shit don't.
yeah.
At this point.
Yeah.
All right. We could probably stay on the Thunder for way longer. I don't want to, though. Let's move on. Let's go
Yeah.
to the reigning Western Conference champions. All right, Kyle. So the Phoenix Suns, we know that they have the talent to make it to an NBA Finals. They just did last season. They fell a little short. No shame in what happened with them. You run into a freight train known as Giannis Antetokounmpo. It's hard to stop it. This year, really in the offseason, they retained Chris Paul, retained Cam Payne, really just retained a lot of their key pieces, but also added JaVale McGee. That was kind of their big addition. No draft picks. Kyle, where do you have the Suns coming into the 2021-2022 season?
I feel comfortable putting them in the title contenders. A noticeable notch below the Lakers, but comfortably in that number 2 spot. They definitely earned their spot in the finals last year. I know that there were other teams that had injuries, but they took advantage of that. They made the best of the situation.
Yeah.
And they won their games to get there. And I think that we saw Ayton really, really live up to his hype in that Clippers series. It was a bit disappointing to see him be so so out of the game plan in the finals. But if we can see him continue to make strides and really, really look like a solid third piece, Mikal Bridges looks like he's going to be just the most solid fourth guy on a team. Um, yeah, I really like this team to return to the Western Conference Finals and have another rematch with the Lakers in the playoffs. I know last year was in the first round, and we didn't give the Suns a chance, and we thought that the Lakers were going to take them pretty easily. Wasn't the case, so I think that we could see it again this year.
Yeah. I think really the only thing I can add on to what you just said is just the addition of JaVale McGee. I think um, some people might be looking at it as they brought him in to just take the place of Dario Saric in the rotation. But I think it's more or less they brought him in as an upgrade over Saric. I think even if Saric is healthy going into this year, JaVale McGee gets those minutes as not only just a better player, which is weird to say JaVale McGee, a better player, but he's also a guy that has experience going on a title run. So he just kind
Yeah.
of adds to that pre-existing culture. One thing I would love to see from the Suns this season, I thought it was the most annoying thing down the stretch of the playoffs, um, is how they just had those games where they just refused to get DeAndre Ayton involved. And I feel like we
Mm-hmm.
really saw that those games where Ayton was involved, it opened up the rest of the Suns' offense. I think they've got to find a way to stay with that more consistently this season. Um, that's really my biggest gripe with the Suns. But other than that, I see no reason why they shouldn't be there with the Lakers near the end of the season.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Yeah. All right. So I view this next team as kind of the same way we viewed the 76ers in our Eastern Conference
Okay.
preview. I don't want to talk about them, but we gotta. The Portland Trailblazers. I will just let you know in my rankings, my love of Damian Lillard, I was blinded by it, and I just couldn't bring myself to put him below the 6 to 8 seed. But I could also be convinced that they're a play-in team. So I'm happy to lean on you for this one because I was a little blinded on this one.
So I think what's interesting is the 6 to 8 team had the two teams we have in there right now both have one guy that we really really like,
Yeah,
that we think this guy can carry this team,
yeah,
but they don't really have, you know, a great team around them necessarily.
yeah.
I think that that's where I'd put him, is the 6 to 8 seed. I cannot see a world where Damian Lillard doesn't make the playoffs if
That's
he's playing
okay.
for Portland.
So I'm not crazy here. It's just
No, if we think that you know Luca and the Lukettes are enough to take the Mavericks to the playoffs, or if we think that Paul George and some other pretty nice pieces are enough to take the Clippers, then we have to have Lillard in the playoffs.
yeah.
I also think the same thing I said about New Orleans with, the clock is ticking.
Oh, it's
It is ticking, ducked. It is rang. It is there. It is, the cuckoo clock is going crazy.
Dame
for this
time.
team.
Dame time is about to run out for Portland if they don't get something going here.
Yeah, and really their piece they add is Larry Nance Jr.
Sure.
Okay, doesn't really move the needle much for me personally, but Damian Lillard, I wouldn't count him out of the playoffs.
Yeah. It's a,
I
again, I think it's more just I can't see a world where he does not find a way to get that team in there.
Yeah,
I think this just hinges on do you think Damian Lillard finishes the season as a Portland Trailblazer? Or does it finally happen? Does the trade demand finally come through and he gets moved out of Portland?
yeah. I still think there's a chance that he gets traded like after the All-Star break or something.
Yeah.
And he's already done enough for the team to where there's still a play-in team
Okay.
or a playoff team.
Okay.
So I think that possibility is still out there.
Well, that conversation was a lot easier than I thought it was gonna be. Um,
Yeah,
eh,
we love Dame.
yeah,
We just love the guy, so we're gonna err on the side of Dame.
yeah, that's fair enough. Well, speaking, a guy we like in Damian Lillard, this next team has another guy that we really, really like, Sacramento Kings, and I am curious where you have Sacramento going into this season. Um, I will tell you this: us now putting New Orleans in the play-in would probably mean that Sacramento is the team that gets bumped out of the play-in for me.
Yeah.
So I
Yep.
guess that means they would be a lottery team. So is that where you have them, Kyle?
That's where I have them.
Okay. What's your reasoning for Sacramento being in the lottery?
I am waiting for any sort of timeline for Sacramento.
That's fair.
I don't understand. I mean, think about it. They were so bad that they had a chance to draft Luca. Instead, the player that they drafted was a poor draft pick, and we've already gone through the life cycle of Marvin Bagley.
Yeah.
He's already at the point of we'll throw in Marvin Bagley. Can we get, can we throw him in a trade for Ben Simmons? Can we get Sadiq Bey for him? They offered Sadiq Bey for Marvin Bagley, and Pistons were like, no way.
We're good.
No way. They're already off of Marvin Bagley.
Yeah.
And again, the Luka's already in the MVP candidate, and they're back at square one. You know what I mean? This team is just perpetually never in a position to win. I don't understand when they would be winning. It should be now. It should be now. De'Aaron Fox, Buddy Hield, Marvin Bagley. This is the timeline. Let's go. You should start being good now.
Yeah. And instead, they draft Davion Mitchell in the top 10, which we love Davion Mitchell, but where does he fit with this roster?
Right.
We're going to be having a who's the odd man out conversation all season with this team, unless one of these guys gets moved for a certain Ben Simmons, which we talked about this during the Eastern Conference preview. This should have been done. De'Aaron Fox should be a Philadelphia 76er right now.
Right.
So that is very annoying with the Kings. My whole reasoning
What's
why
the timeline though? When do you wait for Halliburton to be better in 2 years?
Yeah.
And Davion Mitchell to be better in 2 years? It's well then who do you
Yeah.
Well then Field's probably gone by then, or Barnes is gone by then, and who do you have?
Exactly. And again, it's crazy that I actually wrote this down, but it really was. I had the Kings in the play-in over New Orleans and Minnesota simply because I felt like I had more faith in them than either of those franchises. But especially after our conversation about the Pelicans, I'm a little more swayed to have the Kings down the lottery now. Because that guard scenario it's not clicking for me with that team.
The same reason you have the Timberwolves down there.
Yeah. It's just what's going on here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, then I feel like it's going to be pretty easy to guess where you have the Spurs, but I will let you tell me.
I have them in the lottery.
Oh, you have them in the lottery. Okay, that's interesting. Because we had 3 teams in the play-in in the Eastern, so I thought you were going to put them in the play-in.
We did, didn't we?
Yeah, I have the Spurs in the play-in, and
Okay,
you want to hear?
yeah.
You want to hear my statement?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, you want to hear my statement on this? I simply trust Pop to find a way into the play-in over Minnesota and, in this case, Sacramento. Also, they're fully leaning into the rebuild, which is nice to see the Spurs actually do. But I think with a guy like Thaddeus Young in that locker room to provide that veteran leadership, they grind a way to get into the play-in. it feels like the Spurs finish.
Yeah, I think Keldon Johnson. I think he's my favorite for most improved
I
player.
like that pick.
Yeah, we talked a lot about how Zach LaVine was really going to benefit from being at the Olympics. I think Keldon Johnson's another guy that, um, you know, hey, you're with us. You're one of the top players nationally, and I think that he's going to benefit a lot from that experience. If we value playoff experience and if we value USA experience, then I think that we have to factor in Keldon Johnson taking in a big leap, and a wing like that that's a pretty versatile wing. He's got really good wingspan. He's not a high volume shooter, but he's at least efficient.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I like that. Adding Zach Collins is a nice little piece. Thad Young, like you said, is
He's a great
he's
locker
going
room
to be
guy.
big.
He's
Yeah,
a
it'll be big for that
fantastic
team.
locker room guy.
Yeah, yeah. I really don't like this Spurs team. Like,
No, I don't love it.
I don't like this I don't like this roster a lot. But
Oddly enough, I think also them adding Doug McDermott to actually have some perimeter shooting on this team now could end up being one of the most underrated signings. Just because I feel like
yeah,
that could be something that pushes them into the play-in as well. Just finally having a guy that can take a 3-point shot, and you're not going, "Why are you taking this?" So
yeah. I do think there's a chance this is the least talented roster besides OKC in the league.
I can see that. I mean, I think the range of outcomes for this Spurs team is anywhere in here. I really
Yeah,
do. But it's really more or less my faith in Greg Popovich that
yeah,
has me putting them where I have them. But
yeah.
I
I
really think
think
you could
I,
interchange any of these three teams to be this team
I
right here.
I think if I were a betting man, I might put Minnesota in over the Spurs,
That's fair. I just feel
just over talent.
I
It's a lot of talent
these
gap.
5 teams right here, the teams we have in the play in the lottery, it's a crapshoot. It feels like a total crapshoot. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
well, that leaves one team left, the Utah Jazz, and just by doing a numbers game, I think you and I have them in the same spot here, the 3 to 5 seed.
yeah, yep. Last year's number 1 seed,
Yeah,
um, and they're kind of just running it back. Jordan Clarkson took a really big step forward, and he seems like he's a real guy now,
yeah,
a real contributor for them. I don't know how much more they can really get out of Mike Conley. They've kind of you know ran that empty a bit, but Donovan Mitchell, I still think is underrated
yeah.
in this league. I still think that I'd have to sit down and make a list in front of me, and he's the top whatever number guard in the league, but he's definitely up there. And what he can do is impressive, and what he can do in the playoffs is always impressive. Rudy Gobert is really good in the regular season, so I think they'll have good seeding going into the playoffs.
Yeah.
What he can do in the playoffs, we'll see. Um, I'm kind of not. I'm not in on Rudy Gobert at all. It's not my cup of tea, but good on you. Have fun.
I just feel, I mean, they're running it back exactly like you said, but the Clippers showed us exactly how far that team goes in a 7-game series last season.
Yeah.
You spread the floor, you make Gobert a non-factor, bing bang boom, you just beat the Utah Jazz in a 7-game series. I don't see how they improve on last year when the blueprint has been set to beat them.
Yeah.
And I think it's exactly like you said. I think they're still a really, really good regular season team. But once they get into the postseason, it's gonna be a matter of which team executes the blueprint properly to beat them. Um, I probably
It's really weird
yeah.
that we do this Gobert thing every year in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think it's also really weird we do this Gobert thing every year in the Defensive Player of the Year category, but that's a conversation for another day.
He's penciled in for it, which yeah, he's definitely deserved to be in the conversation for sure. But then we get into the playoffs,
And he turns into a non-factor.
And he can't play defense. For a huge aspect of the game.
Yeah. It's literally one of the top. If you want to talk about top 3 topics to piss me off instantaneously with the NBA, Rudy Gobert and Defensive Player of the Year is near the top of that
Do
list.
you? All right, quick question.
Yeah.
In the year 2025, do you think he'll be picking up his player option for $46 million?
Rudy Gobert? Oh, yeah.
I would not want to be paying that man $46 million.
But he's going to pick it up.
No shot. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's one thing he's not going to swat away. He's going to let that one.
Yeah.
He's going to let that one in, no problem.
Yeah.
All right. So we've reached it. This didn't get as chaotic as I thought it would.
Yeah. I switched up a handful of mine.
Yeah, that's fair. But let's much like we did with the East, Kyle, let's kind of order this before we go through the finals. So Lakers 1, Suns 2. We're pretty set on that. In the 3 to 5 seed range, I think we agree.
Yep.
Denver's the 5. Is it Golden State or Utah that you have at the front of this?
It's probably Utah, but I don't like Utah. So let's just, for the sake of not liking Utah, put them 4.
Yeah. yeah.
I like that.
All right.
I like that.
And then in 6 to 8, I think the Clippers are the 6 here.
Okay. I'm cool with that.
Which one here? Is it Dallas?
I think Dallas would be
Dallas
the 7.
The 7 and then Portland.
Okay.
And then here, I think just by process I think it would be this order, right? Pelicans, Grizzlies, Spurs. And I think here's fine. Minnesota. And then here it's fine.
There we go.
Okay.
Let's read it off.
Let's read it off. Would you like to do the honors, Kyle? Since I did it for the Eastern Conference?
Title contenders. We have the Lakers and then the Suns. 3 to 5 seed would be the Warriors, the Jazz, and the Nuggets. 6 to 8 seed, Clippers, Mavericks, Blazers. The play-in teams, we think that the Pelicans, the Grizzlies, and the Spurs. Lottery teams, I see the Timberwolves and the Kings and the 14 percenters that will be fighting for that number 1 pick in the lottery will be the Rockets and the Thunder.
I actually like how this shook out way more than I thought I would.
Yeah.
I think the fact that we both know that this is the crapshoot area.
Yeah.
But this feels good. I'll ask you the same thing I asked for the Eastern Conference. Who is the team from the 6 to 8 on down that you think would be the dark horse to finish higher than where we have them projected?
I think the Timberwolves.
Yeah?
I think the Timberwolves.
How high? How high could you see this team finishing?
I think there's a world, barring trades, where the Timberwolves take the spot of the Blazers.
I don't think that's crazy. Actually, I could see that. I could see that. I think the clear one here, because we kind of mentioned it. I think the Clippers could be that team that sneaks into the 3 to 5.
Yeah,
but I don't think that's crazy. If I had to take a dark horse, I'm gonna roll with my initial call of the Kings making the play-in.
Okay.
Just I think it's more or less I just want to see the Kings do something, man. I'm rooting for that team. I'm rooting for De'Aaron Fox. Maybe if I do a more realistic one, I could see New Orleans sneaking in and knocking out Portland.
Yeah,
I could see that too.
Obviously, a long shot.
Yeah.
Right. Like obviously, I don't think that that's gonna happen. Be a lot of factors, but yeah, I could see New Orleans being in there as well.
Yeah. I think there's no denying though the West is going to be as wild as ever this season. It's going to be really fun to watch those games because it's a gauntlet every night. Any final thoughts? Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Now that we look at them and we have both tier lists, I feel like the East might be stronger.
I agree. I agree 100% actually.
I do think that the East might be stronger.
It's weird because it's been the Western Conference's league probably since the year 2000, I'd say.
Yeah. Now if Jamal Murray's healthy and Kawhi's healthy, I'd give it to the West.
Also,
And if
yeah, I was
Clay
gonna
is healthy
say,
at the beginning
yeah,
of the season,
yeah. Depending
yeah,
on how the
I'd give.
Warriors look, maybe it swings back. But I would take the East
But
over the West right now. Yeah,
on opening night, I think the Eastern will be a little bit better,
yeah. No, it's
and they
gonna
have the two
be.
best players in the world.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be. This season's gonna be fun, man. I'm really excited. Um, I'm stoked that we got these tier lists done. Um, as I said at the end of the Eastern Conference tier list, let us know down below where you think we did right, where you think we did wrong. Send us your tier list. I will again have the link to the tier list we used down in the description below. If you're on, listening to the podcast, I'll have it in the link to the podcast description. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll have it in the description to the video. But please send us your tier list. We'd love to know where you guys are sitting with the both conferences, really. Um, but thanks so much for watching. We will be back next Friday. Next Friday, we're going to be doing our awards prediction show, so definitely make sure you come back around for that. And then the Friday after that, Kyle, it's basketball season.
Let's go! I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm very very excited. But until then, my name is Joe Micucci. He's Kyle Brandon. Really do appreciate you guys listening. Again, thumbs up, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff on YouTube. 5-star reviews wherever you listen to your podcasts helps us out a ton. Hope you guys have a great rest of your night, and we will see you next time.
See y'all.